All right, little AC/DC to kick things off today. How many of you love that little bit of energy to kick in the day? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Just throwing on my presentation here to make sure I don't forget to share the slides. All right. Talk to me, Goose. Tell me what's going on in your world. How's everything going? What's happening? What are your challenges? What do you want to get out of today when I talk about buyers in a market where you can't find listings and stuff yet? I'm going to talk about how to win and find buyers. What do you guys want to get out of today? Because this is your class.
Yes. Hi, Brad. So basically, how to overcome objections from, for example, for commission, or how to present actually to the buyers this, that actually you don't work for free.
So you're talking about from the buyer side, the commission that you get as an agent. Did I hear that right?
Yes. Yeah, I would love to hear from you. How would you present this, how to overcome this objection, that because people are thinking that they don't have to pay nothing and they use you and that's it, that's only that.
Yep, gotcha. So it's on the buyer, getting them to sign a buyer agency agreement.
Correct.
All right.
Yes, thank you.
We actually will cover that in detail, and it's either on slide in this one or it's in elements, but either way, I think we cover it in both. So I'm going to address that when we come up to it, but I'm going to give you the easy thing up front on it. First of all, is that the buyers, here's the general way to say this. You guys still get paid your commission from the listing agent when you sell somebody a house, correct? Basically, the listing agent charges a commission, say 7% or 6% or 5% or whatever, and they're splitting half of that with whoever brings the buyer. That is still the case in your market, correct?
Correct, yes.
All right. So with that being said, keep in mind that buyers don't pay you to represent them, honestly, in the commission realm. Now, you may have an administrative commission or another fee that you charge for the value that you bring. I can go back to the value proposition section, where when you write out what makes you unique and what makes you special, especially when you write down if you wrote down 2 or 3 things that you do that your competitors can't say they do, like they could say they do it, but they'd have to show it. So what are you doing to do that? And you create value for yourself. Then in the buyer side of the transaction, I just give you real world examples. We charge $495 that gets passed on to the buyer at closing that they pay. Now, if it's a certain type of loan, we may not be able to charge it. They may not allow extra fees paid by the buyer. So we don't just take it off and we don't just waive it. We always say we pay it for you. Because you're getting this particular loan, we're going to pay that for you. And we take it off the net sheet. Okay. But the commission itself is paid by the listing agent. So your conversation, especially if you guys are new, can be like, listen, you have the legal right to have somebody look out for your best interest throughout this transaction, right? And it is a contract that makes that possible. But you have the right to have somebody look out for your best interest, and I can do that for you. And it doesn't even cost you, like you don't have to pay a commission amount to me. I'm getting paid from whatever property you buy from the listing agent. So it is technically free, even though you could validate or argue that it's in the price of the house and all the other stuff. But that commission is not paid by the buyer. It is paid by the seller to the company they hired to market their property. And then they share that back with us. So it doesn't cost them anything to have you represent them. Now, you can also explain that if you're dealing with the listing agent directly, because now you might think, well, why wouldn't they just call the listing agent directly and try and knock off half the commission and buy the house at a cheaper rate? I mean, that's all possible, but that agent works for the seller, is contractually obligated to the seller in most cases if it's a normal listing agreement. So they're not going to be looking out for the buyer's best interest. Does that make sense?
Yes, I with the basic principles. I would just wanted to know what's your take on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's
Thank you.
the reason for the buyer agency is if you take them through the buyer consultation, there's a consultation and you can download it it's on command. You have all that supporting documents in command that can give you all kinds of things to show them everything you bring for value. Now, I would say keep it simple. You want to find out what's important to them. Have they bought a house in the past? What they like about it? What didn't they like about it? And of course, I'd be tagging on to the things that they liked and sharing how we're going to solve the issue of what they didn't like when they work with us. But once you walk through just the A to Z, so how this process works, I'll just give it to you real quick, is when we start working together, when you choose to have me represent you and look out for your best interest, I get you on our instant notification program. We will get you properties the minute, like within seconds of the agent hitting the button to submit it and put it out there to the world. We're sending it to you if it matches what you're looking for. That's how fast we get you properties. And that is just saving a search in the MLS. And then we say, and to make sure we can get you more opportunities at better properties, we're going to have you drive by the ones that look good. When you get the email from us, if it looks good, first of all, if you have any questions about it, you just text me the address and tell me what you're wondering. But the second part of that is you get it so fast that if it looks good on paper and it looks like it's in your price range and the pictures look awesome and everything, drive by it as soon as possible. If you get it at 11 o'clock and you go out for a lunch break, I want you to drive by the property if you can, right? And on your way home, drive by the property. And then you call me if it still looks awesome by the time you do the drive-by. And what that does, what we're doing is we're helping you get into a better house and have a shot at some of these properties before they go under contract with multiple offers. But understand that they have to play the game too. They have to drive by the properties. If they just keep calling saying, hey, we got 7 in this email list you just sent us and they all look good, we will say at that point, after we've gotten past this initial, working together thing. Now, remember, have you driven by them yet? No, they look really good though. It's like drive by them as soon as you can and call me and text me with the addresses of the ones that make the list. I promise you, 4 of them you will not even want to pull up in the driveway when you drive by. So just drive by those, text me back the address. We'll get you in them first thing, either tonight, today still, if you go at your lunch break, you can do it on the way home, or first thing tomorrow. We'll get you in those properties. So I'm putting a little bit of ownership back on them. But on the consultation, we say, when we decide to work together and you want somebody to represent you, we'll put you on our instant notification. You'll drive by the properties. And then what happens is when we go see those properties, you're going to bring your checkbook, or you're going to have that money sitting in your account to make an earnest money check if you want to write an offer. And I will ask you if this is one you want to write an offer on, and we have to move fast in this market. So we'll be ready to write an offer. Once you write the offer, you'll possibly have some inspection period time. We might have to buy the property as is because the market moves so fast. We might be offering way over their asking price to make sure you get it. But I'll be able to consult you all the way through that process to make sure that you have a shot at that house, the best shot that you want at that house. And then once that's done, we go to closing and we help you get through that whole entire process. So once I do all that and I've walked them through the process, I say, so could you see how it might be a benefit to have somebody look out for your best interest in a crazy market like this? And they're obviously going to say, yeah. And you say, great, this form allows me to do that. And you slide the buyer agency and you say, just sign here, press hard, 3 copies, was the old sales school we used to say. But it's like, this form allows me to do that for you. So I don't say sign here, here's the contract, here's the buyer agency agreement. I don't say that stuff because it doesn't mean anything to them. They're not in our world. They don't know what buyer agency means. People don't like the signed contract. So as soon as you say sign here, they're like, oh, well, maybe we want to take this home and look at it. But when I just change the verbiage a little bit and go, so could you see how it'd be a benefit having somebody in the real estate industry looking out for your best interests? And they're going to say, well, yeah. It's like, great, this form allows me to do that. And you hand them the pen and they just start filling it in. Now, if they pause for a second, because here's what happens. I'm telling agents this, so I know. Guys, raise your hand if you're thinking, well, they're going to say they want to read it first, because everybody says this, right? Well, they're going to want to read it first and see what they're signing. No, they really don't. If they trust you and like you, you're not having them sign something where you've gone in and changed it and you're doing anything manipulative, right? You're not charging that fee that I talked about up front and not mentioning that. You're telling them everything up front, and when they sign it, there's no surprises. Now, after they sign it, you can easily say, now you're going to get a copy of this, so I want you to take it home, read through the fine print, highlight anything you have questions about or that you don't understand, and I'll make sure I clear those up for you. And I still summarize what they're signing. I still summarize those paragraphs. But I want you to read the fine print tonight. Once it's signed, I say, now you can take this home and read through the fine print and call me, text me if you have any questions, highlight anything you have a question about, or maybe that I didn't make totally clear. So I want to make sure you understand it. And I'll be the first one to tear up the contract if you decided you didn't want to work with me because I didn't disclose everything, right? Does that make sense? So
Yes,
this market is very challenging. I'm also looking, that's so funny. It says Brad Korn's all over the place because I gave you guys, I bet you I gave you my link to log into the session. So you're all Brad Korn today, or well, most of you are Brad Korn today. Woohoo! Anyway, so yeah, that helps you get that sign. And with that, in this market, you guys have to decide how you're going to operate. Because I can tell you in a slower, more normal market, it was much easier to get them to come in for 10 or 15 minutes and sit down and go through the process and help them understand it. By the way, to get somebody in for a buyer consultation, the great script to say, if you guys write this down, it works every time, is let's get together for about 10 or 15 minutes before we go look at our first batch of houses, and I'll show you how to take advantage of the current market conditions. I mean, I'm telling you, over 30 years, it's just hearing scripts, using scripts, tweaking a word here or there. And it's like I've gotten down to the masterful scripts that work every single time. So once we get together for 10 or 15 minutes, I can show you how to take advantage of the current market conditions. That's how you get them in for the buyer consultation most of the time. But now with that being said, this market's moving so fast right now. I mean, I'm just hearing successful agents are selling 200, 300, 400 homes a year. And I'm looking at these agents going, oh my gosh, this is just a young kid selling 300, 400 homes a year. And they're saying how their team's members are just running out and meeting them at the house. So they're building rapport. Well, we were always anti-building rapport. We were get the contract signed first. But this market's moving so fast and there's people running around out there. And as the markets change and shift, when Mark King, our president, and Jason Abrams, they talk about all this stuff. And Gary Keller talks about in the vision speech, if you haven't watched it, where and how the market's moving and changing. Things like Uber, things like, you know, those kind of instant on things, people can just put in an app and have somebody meet them at the house and run them through the house. So you're gonna compete, you're gonna have to compete a little more to get buyers in this market, and maybe not get that comfortable buyer agency signed before you ever put them in your car or before you meet them at a house. There's another thing. I mean, I don't ever put people in my car. I haven't put people in my car in over 20 years because our system is to have them drive by the properties first. The reason why I told you that and why we stick to that is because we just run out and show them 1 or 2 houses, and then we might not show them another house for 3 or 4 days after they get some more and they've driven by and they filter them out and they narrow it down to, they go by 1 or 2 a week that they really like. We just run out and meet them at the property versus going to meet at the office, putting them in my car, driving around. And I'll say that because a lot of what I share with you guys throughout this Ignite session, when I call it having a mastery conversation around these topics, there's a lot of things that seem like you would do it naturally this way. However, when you see the systems that I share with you, you have to do it this way if you want to sell 100 homes a year. You're not going to be able to sell more than 2 or 3 homes a month when you're meeting people, getting them in your car, doing the buyer consultation, doing the perfect pre-planning everything, showing them every house, not having them, well, I don't want them to really drive by. I want them to feel value. So I'm going to take them to 7 properties. You can't sell 100 homes a year when you're doing that process. You have to streamline everything down. And I'm going to say right there and encapsulate it back into what I've been saying since we started Ignite. It's for the benefit of the client that I don't drive them around to all the properties, because while we're driving by 7 properties, the favorite one of theirs might be number 7, and it's got an offer on it by the time we get there. So the benefit of them driving by the properties first is so that we're not wasting our time looking at properties they wouldn't even want to pull in the driveway, and getting them to the properties that they actually like and are excited about, so we can get them through the house. So whenever somebody skips this step, and I can tell you, team member after team member, coaching client after coaching client, when they have a frustration with the buyer and it's about going to showing too many houses and it took all day to show them houses and tour houses, I say, did they drive by the properties first? And almost always they say, no, I wish we would have, because there were 3 that they didn't even let me pull in the driveway. Well, see, that stinks, because you set up a showing and the seller left the house. You're not even going to go in and put your card in. So now you're the bad guy or gal for inconveniencing somebody and kicking them out of their house for an hour during that time frame, and you didn't even go in the house. So if that happens, I always say, well, I do need to go in and leave my business card. We had the seller leave because I want them to understand that when they set up a showing, it's not willy-nilly. They're kicking somebody out of their house. So I say it nicely to help them understand the process. And they're like, oh, we didn't even think about that, or whatever. So yeah, I do have to go in and put my business card. I want to let them know that we at least came by, and you're not interested. You guys can wait here. Well, no, we might come in and look, and then they might like it. So anyway, that's hopefully that helps there and gives you guys a little insight on some buyer agency, getting contracts signed, and working with buyers in general. Was that helpful information? Yeah.
Yes, it was. Thank you so much, Brad. Thank you.
All right, great. Okay. So anything else that anybody wants to get from buyers out of today's session? All right, so let's jump into the material here and there is a lot of good stuff in this session. So I'm like in the dark here. I closed my curtain, turned off all the lights, and I'm all in the dark over here. Okay, so again, these sessions all talk about everything from lead generating for buyers, making seller presentations, buyer presentations, previewing real estate. We're actually going to cover, I believe, some of the buyer stuff today. In running your business, that's going to be the element. So we're on number 7. We got 2 more sections in Spark on growing the business. And then we're going to move into running the business. So that's going to be the real tactical stuff where our conversation moves towards that. So today is still actually finding those buyers. So we are still lead generating for buyers and sellers on this one. So this one's find the buyers. So these are the stats similar to what Gary shared at Family Reunion. These probably aren't as updated. These are from 2019 National Association of Realtors, but the numbers are all still pretty close. So 89% of buyers purchased their home through a real estate agent. 41% found their agent from a referral. Now, this is important because when you peel this number back and look, if you have a database and a list of people that already know who you are, they're in your database or they've talked to you or met you or whatever, and 41% of buyers found their agent through a referral, 41%. I mean, I got to do the math. You guys gave me numbers on how many Facebook friends you have. You started this master list, I hope. And it's usually about now where I'm bringing the master list back up and say, do you have a spiral notebook sitting on your desk that is started to accumulate names in it so that you can find phone numbers and addresses? And by now, you probably should have 500 to 1,000 names in that notebook. And here's why. This stat right here, guys, listen to this, 41%. So if you have 500 people in your notebook that you're looking for phone numbers and addresses for, so you can pick up the phone and call them, write them a handwritten note, put them into your database, and put them on a smart plan. It's step 1, step 2, step 3. Find their information, call them, write them a note, start them on a smart plan. So that smart plan will keep you in front of them running automatically and remind you when to call them next. So if you have 500 people in your notebook and we said 41%, I'm just going to take that times 41%. Those 500 people will be referring 205 people to a realtor. Don't you want to be top of mind with those 500 people? For 200 referrals will go out if 41% of the buyers found their agent from a referral. 75% of the buyers interviewed only interview one agent. So usually if you get the call and you don't drop the ball on them, and I'm going to tell you now, in the current market conditions, this is why I'm so glad you guys are on this call every time we do it, because there's really immediate stuff happening right now. And I'm learning it too. I mean, my real estate business is the laboratory. So this is when I bring this stuff to you, it's what's really happening. You better call them back fast. You better call them back often. And I say this because I've got a great follow-up system, and I put them on an 8x8 plan that's going to remind me to call them again in 4 weeks. Listen, if they're a buyer in this market, there's not another call in 4 weeks. There's a call every day for the next 4 days to make sure they're getting the MLS listings. Did you drive by any? I mean, I called a buyer that I picked up this weekend from a referral. They were in town yesterday driving around. I mapped out, I set up their search. There was about 30 homes that matched. I mapped it all out, and they just drove around Kansas City all day yesterday. Brad Korn did not get in his car to go meet them anywhere. I was ready if they needed to go see a house, or my buyer's agent was ready, but I was ready too, that if they drove by a house they wanted to see, I could have gone over there. However, they didn't call. They had time to drive by all the properties, and they emailed back. I texted them 3 times during the day. How's the tour going? You guys seeing anything? And it's like, yeah, we see a couple we like. We might call back if we want to see a couple. I'm like, all right, I'm available. And they never did go see a property. So I didn't have to leave my family on a Sunday. Now I was listing a house too. But I didn't have to leave my family to go show a house or to set up those 30 showings and drive them around town for the whole day and entertain them. I spent the time with my family. They still did the drive around. They still saw the different areas and saw all the different houses. And it's not like they were ready to make an offer yesterday. Okay. Next time they come to town, they're gonna do a drive-by of what's left and what's new. They're gonna call me. That's gonna be in the morning. They're going to call me in the afternoon as soon as they drive by them around 11 or 12, shoot me the addresses that made the want to see list. And by 2 o'clock, I'll be meeting them at the first house. And then I'll take them to another one and take them to another one. And we'll probably look at 3 or 4 houses, maybe at the most 5, and they'll probably buy one the next time they come to town. So my total hours, and this is not, being mean or providing less service, guys. I'm talking about delivering a Disney experience with buying a house, that this process will be so smooth for them that next time they come, they write an offer on a house and they get one of their offers accepted, and then they're moving here. They're like, man, that was easy, right? So it wasn't frustrating looking at 50 houses inside, trying to keep track of which one was what and which one had the granite countertops and which one had that. So from experience, you're going to find that you want to keep the process simple, and they're not even going to want to see more than half the houses you give them originally. So have them drive by them, have them text you the addresses, and then sometimes we have to kick it into gear. It's like, all right, I mean, I know they could call this afternoon, so I'm going to have to block an hour out to go show houses. And that's the other thing, setting up showings. I have created a system, can you believe that, for showing houses, that I can show 4 to 6 houses in about an hour, hour and a half. and they're every 30 minutes, and it's 2 houses per 30 minutes. So really I can show 8 houses in 2 hours, and it will just run like clockwork. Now I have a buyer's agent that didn't follow the system, and it took them like 4 hours to show those 8 houses because they were scattered all over. Took an hour trying to figure out where to map them, and it just didn't follow the system. Didn't know it well enough because he's new. So that's one of the next things we sat down and said, all right, let's go over the open house or the tour, the showing process again, how you map it out, how you time it out. And if I do 2 houses every 30 minutes, so if I'm showing at 1 o'clock, I'm going to have 2 houses I set up between 1 and 1:30. And then the next 2 houses are going to be set up between 1:15 and 1:45. And then the next 2 houses are going to be set up between 2 and 2:15 or 2:30. I mean, whatever. I just keep kicking it back a little bit. And by the time we get done, we're done looking at houses in about an hour, hour and a half. If we're looking at 4 or 5, if I'm showing 2 or 3, it's an hour. I mean, it's less than an hour. The drive time there, show, and then go back. So there's a process to follow. And by the time one cancels on you and one's under contract, they just accepted an offer and all that other stuff, it still works out perfectly where you hit the times just right. But he didn't know how to do that yet. So it was a rough day. I mean, it wasn't rough because he learned what not to do now. Now he's going to know that the system actually works really, really well. All right, I know I'm kind of, again, we're at a high level conversation, so I like to pause out and just see if you guys have any questions about any of this stuff. Oh, look at this one. This number did not change at family reunion either. 51% of all buyers visited an open house. Okay, so here we are in this market, and here's what you've probably heard is things are selling so fast, we can't get the open house done. By the time we schedule an open house, it's sold. 51% of the buyers got their agent from an open house. What number is not showing here is that 99% of them do not buy the house at the open house they're in. So the purpose of the open house can be twofold. The first reason for doing an open house is 51% of the buyers find their agent there. Guys, if you have time, remember we talked about marketing. When you're marketing, it's money intensive and you have to do the masses. Prospecting is more one-on-one and less expensive. It doesn't cost you anything to do an open house. And yet 51% of the buyers found their agent from an open house. So if you need more buyers or want more buyers, do more open houses. Find a house that no matter what, the seller, you're going to let them know. Now, even if the house is sold, we're still going to do the open house on Sunday because we would like to get you backup offers. So again, what's the benefit for the seller doing the open house? Because really the true benefit is you're going to go meet buyers. So you're doing the open house to find buyers to go sell them more houses, right? That's not really truly a benefit to the seller. However, the benefit to the seller is that if you did find a buyer who would actually like their house enough to be in backup position, if that's available in your market, it should be and could be. Maybe you guys haven't talked about it or heard about it, but I write backup offers here all the time. I want to be accepted as an offer. We have a backup addendum that says this is in backup position. And if something happens to the first offer, we automatically move into first spot. That one cancels, we're now the accepted offer. I don't let the listing agent have any opportunity to show the house again, or for me to have to go compete against 10 more buyers again, because the first offer canceled, it went live. Then you called your buyer and go, oh my gosh, that house came back on the market. And now you're competing against 10 other buyers again. If you get a backup offer accepted, and if you're not sure how to do that, talk to your leadership, your broker, your productivity coach, because it's the most genius move for when you miss out on a property. So I have to explain that to co-op agents here when I'm the listing agent. I say, hey, the guys that miss out, it's like, listen, we don't have a backup offer yet. You guys can get this accepted as a backup offer. And we might even have to counter it because it wasn't as good as the offer we accepted. But as a selling agent, I want a backup offer sitting right behind that first offer. Because first of all, it buys me leverage for the offer I have in my hand. Secondly, if that falls through, or they're not going to be able to ask for as much, but if it does fall through, now I got another offer already in place and my seller's house is resold again. Does that all make sense? Good stuff. So I know this is, I mean, how many of you feel a little overwhelmed when I'm throwing this stuff at you, or are you grasping it? So overwhelmed or grasping it. It's a fun way to do real estate, and it's very strategic and not just winging it. Okay. All right. So cultivating leads. The one thing I will tell you, if you're doing open houses and you're finding these buyers and you're getting these buyer opportunities, anytime you get them on the phone or you get your notebook started and they give you a referral, capture the lead, get it in your notebook, find the address and the phone number, pick up the phone and connect, write the note, and get them in command and start them on a smart plan. Every one of you should have smart plans running in command now. So if you don't have that going yet, and you haven't added anybody into command since we started Ignite, or since you've joined Ignite, that's your number one step. Until you capture and get them in the system to cultivate them, your business is just gonna be crazy. You're not going to be able to keep track of it. It's going to be spinning out of control on you. All right, let me see where we are here. So on cultivate leads. So this is what it actually looks like to capture a lead when you're prospecting or marketing, doing your open houses, doing all those things we talked about, getting a referral. That lead comes in and you capture it by putting it in command or putting it in your notebook first so you can find a phone number and an address. Now, the only difference here is when we're talking about prospecting and marketing, and we find somebody who's probably doing something pretty soon, that shouldn't go. I mean, if you do put it in your notebook, you need to put a star next to it because you need to find their address and their phone number pretty dang quick. And when I say that, it's when somebody says, yeah, I'm looking at maybe building a house. I'm just going to start talking to some, driving through some new subdivisions and looking around. So this is a seller lead, right? I'm going to just start looking. Well, it's actually a buyer lead too. But if they said that over the weekend while we were out with some friends and I throw their name in my notebook, I can't leave it in the notebook to find it later. I need a star next to that to find the address and phone number so I can call them back right away. Say, hey, when you said this weekend, I remembered you saying that you were going to start driving around and looking at some opportunities in different neighborhoods. What? Tell me what's going on. What's your time frame? What are you thinking about? Well, we're thinking maybe this summer we'd like to move. Okay, so there was a lead that most agents would have missed and or not followed up with. And by capturing it and getting it in the funnel, whether they're a lead or whether they're a contact, and putting them on the right smart plan and saying, well, tell me what you're looking for. What would be the ideal house? What are you thinking about? And then going into MLS and setting up a search and sending them the properties as they hit the market. Now I'm like speeding that process up because it's top of mind for them and they're seeing it all the time and they're thinking about it more. So I'm actually creating business faster than just waiting for it to happen. But what's going to happen once you capture them in there and you've got them in the database, then you're going to cultivate them. And cultivate will turn into an appointment, getting them out looking at houses, writing a contract on a house, or closing on a house. And what you have to remember is under the cultivate phase, only 1 to 2% of the general population is moving at any given time. So the cultivate is there for a reason before you get to that. You've met everybody. They may not be moving right now. So you still capture them, get them into the funnel and cultivate them. But the ones that are doing something now or sooner need to be pushed up onto a smart plan that keeps you in touch with them more every day, every 2 days, every 3 days a week, something like that, right? So that you can move that through the process. But 98% of the general population that you meet when you weren't talking about real estate probably isn't moving right now. And only 20% will be moving over the next 12 months. So you do want to stay in touch with them, but you don't have to stay in touch with them all about real estate. So adding yourself to a smart plan, best advice I can give you right now, if you haven't added a lot of people to command and you haven't used smart plans, there's 2 people for sure that need to go on a smart plan. And there's even more. And that is put yourself in command, right? And put me, Coach Korn, in command. And if you really want to take it to the next level, your people that we're going to going through Ignite with, get their names off the screen, not today, because it's all jacked up. Everybody's listed as Brad Korn today. But get those names off of the list of who's attending Ignite with you and put them on a smart plan. How cool would this be if you guys are all getting stuff from each other on smart plans, because you know we were in Ignite and we were talking about it, and this is how we learn what the smart plans do and say. And then all of a sudden you're sitting there, like, how many of you are getting smart plans from anyone in the session? No one. So if you start getting some smart plans, then everybody that you're going through Ignite with is seeing smart plans, and they're like, oh, I love this smart plan. And they go in to play with smart plans, and they find a cooler smart plan, and they put you on it, and then you're getting it, and you're like, oh, that smart plan is pretty cool. Otherwise, how do you know what's in the smart plans? And then we don't put anybody on anything. So we're just running the dumb plan. We just threw them in there and nothing's happening with them. Guys, you will lose track of people in a second on a spreadsheet. You need a system that will continually tell you who and when to call next. All right, so qualifying the buyers, we already talked about that a little bit, getting them in for a consultation and doing all that stuff. But the different types of buyers, just so you understand the textbook terms, an A buyer in your database is somebody who's ready to buy right now. And if you were to take your entire list and you were to line this out, if they're A, B, or C, then you're going to find that, maybe 10 out of 1,000 people are A's that they're actually looking. And you would have had to talk to all 1,000 to know for sure, right? So you may have a list of people that are a lot of A's right now, and you might have more than 10% or 20%. But that's because you didn't put anybody else in your database. You're only capturing people that talk about real estate. And what I'm going to tell you is 98% of the people that you've crossed paths with should be in there too, because they will be future business. They're just not right now. So B is able and ready, but not right now. That's your fence sitters. And when you tag somebody as a B, your A buyers might have a smart plan where you're calling them every day for 3 or 4 days. Your B buyers, you might be calling once a week for 6 or 8 weeks to see if they're moving through the process. And C buyers are just the generic follow-up stuff. It doesn't even have to all be about real estate. You should have some real estate layered in there, but you could have community things in there and dripping on them to keep you in front of them so that when they move up to a B or a C, you're top of mind when they think of it. All right, so we talked about the buyer intake forms. And I always talk about my colored forms. So blue is for buyer. And I don't know if it's not focusing completely, but this is just a blue sheet. We just bought blue paper from the office store, and we have their address. I have the date that the lead came in. We will put in here if we put them into the database, and if they've started on a plan, if we sent them a note, we'll just make notes here. But their information, what they're looking for in a property, and then their information down here at the bottom, like have they gone to a loan? Have they gotten a loan approval? Have they gotten pre-approved? Have they started that process? So same thing with sellers. We have a yellow sheet for sellers, yellow for seller, blue for buyer. And I'm telling you, I just got a compliment from our new team member. He's like, man, I love these blue forms. I can find them right away. It's like, yes, in your stack of stuff that piles up on your desk, right? Look at the stack of stuff here, but you see the yellows? These are sellers. By putting them on color-coded paper, this stack will sit on my desk till the end of the day, and I'm going to process through here to make sure these yellow people are on the right plans. They are future listings that are coming up, and that's just from today, so far this morning. So that's the stuff that piles up on the desk, and my yellow forms and my blue forms are the most important things that I dig through. These other notes and stuff from just some training class I was in, it might be important, but it's not as important as this sheet right here, which is the seller, right? So, and it's piling up. Things come in faster than I can process them sometimes. But that's the system, is to use that intake sheet. So in your book, if you downloaded the Spark 7 manual, you could just print that page out and put it on yellow paper or blue paper. We're on buyers today, blue papers. So again, in Ignite, when it's an all-day class, we can break into groups and do role playing and all that stuff. And we can't really do that in an hour and get you all the information. So if you want to role play some of getting that information, I mean, here's how it happens. I'm going to show you right over here. So phone rings, buyer says, hey, I'm calling about a property. I come right over here. See, there's yellow for seller. Here's blue for buyer. I grab this sheet, I bring it right over here, and I'm like, all right, so today is Tuesday, and I'm going to put the day, or Monday, right? Monday, I don't even know the day. It's 4/4. And so I'm not even thinking right now. I'm just like, all right, so how did you hear about the Korn team? Oh, there we go. How did you hear about the Korn team? What got you to call us today? Or an internet lead comes in and it's like, that's realtor.com. So I'm going to go realtor.com. I'm going to say, all right, so before, where are you in the process? And it's like, oh, I just started the process. We're just starting to look. We saw this one house we want information on. Great, let's do this. Let me get some of your information so that we can keep in touch. I'll get you those properties and all that. So I go through, let me get your name. Okay, what's your current address? Where do you live now? Where's your cell phone number? Is there any other number I need from you? Okay, now one of the other things we're going to talk about is getting you properties the minute they hit the market. I'll tell you about that in a minute. What's the best email for you? Now, if I have to, in front of this, I could use this script. Oh, tell me about that property, right? Which one is it? I'll check and see if it's available. So now, how soon are you wanting to move? Well, we're really kind of going to move in the next few months. Okay, so you're working way too hard. This is the script I gave you earlier, and you'll probably hear it again, but you're working way too hard. This market moves so fast that you're looking on the websites and properties are sold by the time you find them, or you're driving around and you see signs in the yard. The best properties sell the minute they hit the market. We have a free instant notification program that we let you know the second a new property hits the market. In fact, I get them to you so fast that if it looks nice on the email and you drive by it on your lunch break or on your way home, you literally could be one of the first people in the market to even see it. So we get you that list for free. So what I'll do is I'll pull up the property and see if that one's available, but also I'll pull up any other properties that might work as well. So let me get some information from you, and then I'll go back into, let me get your name. So I got that right. And what's your current address? Because I'll print some of those old ones off now, and they might not even be available anymore, but I'll just drop those in the mail to you so you can see the different neighborhoods. But what's the best cell phone number to reach you at if a perfect property comes on, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now tell me what you're really looking for. And they'll do it. And I would have wrote in my notes down here the address of the property that they called on. And then I come right down here and it's like, well, what about your financing? Have you gotten pre-approved with the lender yet? No, we have not. Say so, no. So I'm going to send you the name of a guy I want you to call. It takes about 10 minutes to give him your information over the phone, blah, 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 blah. So now that also, back to our slideshow that we're on right now, signing the buyer's agreement. This is where you say, now I will print all these off, and we probably should get together for about 10-15 minutes just to run through the process and help you take advantage of the current market conditions. Can you see how everything I just did, even like just teaching you guys here, did you feel a sense of urgency to make this thing move a little faster? And that's just because of choice of words, and it's a script, and I say it the same way every time. I didn't wing one bit of that. It is the same exact conversation, buyer after buyer, blue sheet after blue sheet. So getting them in for the consultation is, so we'll get together for a few minutes and go over the process, how to take advantage of the current market conditions and not miss out on any more offers than you have to. Oh, we've just heard how many people are missing out on offers and paying way over asking price and all that other stuff. So that's where you get them in to sign the buyer agents agreement if you can. In this market, we've adjusted a little bit to where we're probably getting that signed within the first or second meeting. Maybe when we run out to meet them at the house, we're handing them one. If it's all fast paced, we might hand them a buyer's agency agreement to review. and say, now this form is what will allow me to look out for your best interest. So I may run out to the house and meet them, run through the process. You're going to drive by the properties. You're going to get them the minute they go live. You're going to text me with any address that you want information on. We still go through the same thing. And this form is what allows me to look out for your best interest. Can you see how that would be a benefit? Yes. Great. Then I'm going to let you take this home because everything's done digital now. I'm sending you this to sign. So just highlight any questions you have in there and let me know if there's anything you want more clarity on. Otherwise, when I send this to you and you sign, now I'm working for you and I'm looking out for your best interest. And sometimes I will get it signed right there. If I feel comfortable enough with them, great, this form allows me to do that, sign here. And then I will say, now I'm going to let you take that home, but I've also got it digitally signed, or we'll just pull it up on the phone and sign it right there. And then I'll let them take the paper copy home so that they can read it. So there's lots of different ways to do it. And again, if I'm meeting a total stranger, yeah, I'm getting a buyer consultation before I go running around showing strangers houses. However, this current market has made it more of a challenge that we almost have to run out and meet them. And we are totally focused on building rapport to get their commitment while we're there with them. They're not a stranger by the first time they meet us. If they are still a stranger and we're still a salesperson to them, we didn't connect. I'm probably not pushing for the buyer's agency agreement, but I'm also not going to be running out showing them houses until we get that. And the next time they call and want to see 3 more houses, if I didn't connect and they're not really telling me anything, and I ran out to meet them at a house to do this, then the next time they call, it's like, hey, I need to really prepare you how to take advantage of the current market. Let's get together for 10 minutes. And that's where I had one buyer recently say, well, I don't feel comfortable signing the agreement. And I said, well, then I don't feel comfortable working with you anymore. I'm sorry. I have people that are committed. They know what we bring to the table. I've shown you 3 properties. You know what information I bring. If you want to take your chances with somebody else and not commit, then I mean, I've got to wish you the best of luck. And believe me, my life has been so stress-free since I got rid of that person. I don't know if they bought anything or not, and I don't really care, but they would always call last second, sitting in front of a house. They were from Colorado. They would drive here in their motorhome, and it was stressful. My wife even picked up on it. She was like, who is that crazy lady calling you again, making you run out and meet her at a house? Like, yes, I'm sorry, honey. I'll be back for dinner in an hour. They're gone. I haven't even thought of them twice since I fired them. And they're like a $500,000 buyer if they ever buy. And they're not committing to anyone. So I doubt they've even bought it, right? So asking for the business, asking for the appointment, and then assessing all their financial needs. That's what a buyer consultation can help you set up to go through that process. Any questions on anything so far? I know I'm kind of going.
No, thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Was this good information, you guys? Does it really help with the buyer stuff? So one of the other things I'm going to do, I'm going to put this in the comments for you guys to click on this in the chat. Oh, yep. To click on this in the chat so it will open up a window so you can complete the survey while I give you this bonus deal, the bonus tip. Because not only is it finding buyers and what was our title? Winning and finding with the buyers. Here's your win tip for winning with the buyers in this market with it. And your guys' market is still a low inventory with multiple offers coming on properties, I guess. Would you guys say yes? Have you heard that? Yeah. And sometimes it waffles around. Like ours is down in a little phase right now where they're not getting multiple offers on their properties anymore, but so you're able to at least have a shot at some of the properties, but other properties are getting multiple offers. But here's your way to win with the buyers during the consultation or during that first conversation. And this can be your value proposition from now on. You're just going to have to play with this idea a little bit and let me know how it works for you. To say, when you work with me, when you choose the right agent, these are kind of bold scripts, but when you choose the right agent to work for you and look out for your best interest, they do more than just have you on a website looking for properties and call that agent to just go see the house. We're going to send you not only our instant notification of the newest listings the minute they hit. Now, see, every agent could say they do that, but nobody does it. They're just waiting for them to visit realtor.com and call with a property address. You're putting them in MLS, setting them up on a saved search and sending them properties that match what they're looking for the minute they go live. But we also look for homes that we won't have to compete with. In fact, when the market's so short right now, and this is part of the education process, that normally we would say you know you're going to get a house with 7 or 8, maybe 9 things that you want in a house, but you may not find the house that has all 10. So through the process, I'm going to ask you, does this have everything, or how many of the things did you really want that are in this house? And if it has, in this market, 4 or 5 of the things you want in a house, that's a pretty good house. That may be one you need to make an offer on, even though it doesn't have everything you want. They don't get to be picky in this market, guys. And if you get that buyer, I'm only buying a house that's 10 out of 10. Great. Then one of the things I do is I charge an upfront retainer fee of $1,000, and I will only show you houses that are 10s because that buyer is going to be a pain in your butt, and you're going to be showing houses that aren't even 10s, and they're going to keep saying, well, I still want to see it. And you're showing them all these houses that are not 10s, and you're taking all this time, and they won't buy anything unless it's 10. So I would take a retainer fee up front if it were me. You got to run a business, right? But what you're going to say is, so in this market, normally I advise people that they're going to get 4 or 5 of the things they really want in a house, and they're just going to have to give up some of those other things now because of the shortage of homes. However, when you commit to work with me, as many people do, I start researching the off-market stuff. And what you're going to do on this, guys, I can find houses where people are starting to think about moving, and they can have 8, 7, 8, 9 of your favorite things, sometimes even 10 of your favorite things. They haven't told anybody else they've been thinking about selling, but I know who they are, because everybody moves every how often? 5 to 10 years, right? So if you were to pull up solds in the area of your MLS where your buyer is looking, a 5-mile radius of about where they're looking, and you go back 5 to 10 years and you pull up solds, you're going to get a list of 60, 70, 100, 150 homes every time you do this, because 5 to 10 years is a 5-year span. And in that 5-mile radius, there's probably over 150, 200 homes that sold back then. Now I got to go through each one individually and check the history, or some people say in their MLS they have to check the tax records. So there's some extra steps here, but I can go through and see if it's sold since then. And if that property hasn't sold since then, out of 150 homes, you will have a list of about 10 to 20 homes that the people have not moved, and they're still there, and they bought 5 to 10 years ago. Now, what all that list is, and when I said actually that you can find 8, 7, 8, 9, or 10 of their favorite things, I can literally search in MLS specifically what they're looking for. Walkout basement, 4 bedrooms, an office, a 3-car garage, a finished basement. I can do the detailed search for their dream home, because part of that on this list is after I kind of get the idea. Now, what didn't you tell me that's part of your dream home? Because I'm going to set up a separate search just for their dream home that has everything that they want. And so they'll still get it in the general search, but if it has everything they want, it's going to say dream home in the subject line. And that means we're probably looking at that one. And I'm probably going to copy my email on that MLS search and make sure I get it too. But I can do that with the solds, and that's where you're going to get 50 or 60 homes over the last 5 years that match, and you're going to find about 7, 8, 10 that they're still in the house, but it's their dream home. Now, be a real estate agent. Go back to your prospecting and prospect those 10 people, because right now you have the hottest value proposition in the world, a buyer that is looking for that exact home. And if I find 10 homes that they're still in their home, and it's this buyer's dream home, and it's within 5 miles, and they've been there 5 to 10 years, those 10 sellers are the absolute most cream of the crop lead generation calls you can make. That I will call a seller all day long. and say, this is Brad Korn with Keller Williams. I'm calling out of the blue today because, as you know, the market's been crazy. There's a shortage of homes, and I'm working with a buyer that described the type of house that you're in. Now, I know I'm calling out of the blue, and you might not even be thinking of moving. Well, they are, because they bought 5 to 10 years ago. You might not even be thinking about moving, but if it has crossed your mind, I would love the opportunity to maybe even just show my buyers the property, right? And not that you have to be selling or anything, but if you'd like to get some feedback and just see what somebody might offer you for your house, I would love to show these buyers your house. And so I'm going to get a one-time showing agreement with them ahead of time that they're going to sign, that if I show it to these buyers, and I'll have the buyers' names on there, that if they buy it, here's the commission that we would agree on. But again, you're not selling, so it's not a big deal, but this just authorizes me to show the property. And if I can get 2 or 3 of those sellers to let me bring my buyer through, your buyer now is like, holy crap, there's not another agent in the marketplace doing this, showing me properties that aren't on the market. So just another way to find your buyers and really win with them. And you're going to have 3 or 4 sellers that you've talked to that now should go on your drip plan for future listings. So we're right at the end of the hour. I'll open it up again if you had any other additional questions. How was today? Good stuff? Good stuff.
Yes, great stuff. Yes, thank you.
All right, guys. Well, we are on for Friday, I believe. We'll just double check. I think we got all the dates updated now. Keller Williams threw some stuff on the schedule. So yeah, we're definitely on for the 6th at the same time, same channel.